All right. Okay, this is the perfect setup. What is going on, YouTube? Today I just wanted to give away more free information, if that makes any sense, more advice I think is useful, especially when it comes to muscle maturity. And a lot of people wonder, like, oh, how do you have, how do you get the veins on the shoulders? How do you get the shoulder striations, chest striations? And I really feel like striations has a lot to do with genetic and how lean you are, right? Because all muscles have striations. Like, muscles are strands of muscles. It's not like your chest muscle is just one gigantic piece of meat. There's different sections, right? So your striations will look different depending on your genetics, but obviously you'll be able to see striations based on how much muscle you actually have and how lean you actually are on top of that. But those are kind of two different subjects that have to do with, your diet and how much you eat and your size and whatnot. But I just want to talk about training wise, how can you get that definition? How can you get those veins? And so the first thing I would have to say would have to be that you should that there has to be time under tension when you're working out. And what does that mean? That basically means that you have to slow down your reps. And so, why should you slow down your reps? What's the point of slowing down the concentric, the eccentric, going through all that stuff instead of just hulking the weight, right? And it's your muscle has age, right? In terms of, like, the more you use your muscle, the older it'll get, right? And so if your sets last longer, you're aging your muscle more. Like, obviously you're growing it, you're breaking down the muscle, you're getting the pump, etc. But if we're talking about, like, how old your muscle is, like, in terms of, like, how strong it is, how much mind muscle you can feel, the slower your reps are, the more energy, the more focus, the more attention you're paying to the actual rep. You're thinking about the movement, you're going slow, you're making sure everything is correct, right? Like, I was doing bicep curls today, extremely, extremely, extremely slow tempo. And why is that? Well, it's because once you start, like, the actual movement of working out, you're already starting that process of, like, okay, let's destroy the muscle, right? Or let's tear the muscle fibers, and then you build it back up when you're at home recovering, eating, etc., right? But in terms of the actual training, that's when your muscle is getting older, when you're actually doing the lifting part. So again, the slower you go, the more, like, muscle you're gonna use, the more, like, muscle attention it'll require to actually control the weight. And in turn, like, that's how you start to get the striations, that how you start to get the size and the shape and everything like that. Because I used to have, like, a similar frame. My body hasn't very, like, changed a lot, but I was much smaller. Like, I didn't really have that much size or definition. Well, I had a lot of definition because I was skinny, but I didn't have any size. And that had to do with my diet, but also had to do with how I train. Like, I wouldn't control my reps. I would just try and PR all the time and try to bench as quickly as possible and stuff like that. Versus now, everything I do, it's like I'm trying to do the reps in slow motion. Because again, the more time you spend doing the exercise, the more you actually age your muscle. And that makes sense because you're just spending more time. And, like, as time goes on, you get older, right? So in the same sense, as time goes on, your body ages, and muscle maturity comes from the muscle aging. Like, you can't, like, you can have muscle maturity, like, let's say some of these 15, 16-year olds, they have striations, they have everything. How do they have all that stuff? It's because probably of genetics, how lean they are, but also the way they train. If they train super slow reps, right, and they're taking their time, and they've been doing this for 2 years, like, you can get the muscle really defined, and you can almost, like, have a more advanced physique because your muscle just has that much experience, right? Like, the same way, like, who's gonna be the better surgeon? Like, the one who's been being a surgeon for 1 year or for 10 years, right? The same applies to your muscle. What muscle is going to look better? The muscle that's been trained for 1 year or the muscle that's been trained for 10 years? And so, right, if you want to make really good gains early on, you need to think, well, how can I make the muscle look older? Right? Like, oh, like I'm only 15, whatever. I want to have better muscle maturity. Spend more time working out. And what does that mean? Don't rush through your sets, don't rush through the reps. Spend more time working out, as in do your reps slower, because the slower you move, again, like everything I said, the more you're actually using to body build, you know, like you're not just using momentum, you're not just flying through it, you're actually training and you're actually thinking about it and feeling it. Like that's super important. A lot of people don't talk about that. How like you can't, like you need to do what feels right. You need to do what you can see actually grows the muscle. A thing I do a lot, and this is a tip I don't even, I even post it or have it out there, but like I stare at the body part I'm training. I don't close my eyes. I don't stare at the ceiling. Like I look, because I need to know what I'm hitting. I need to see how the bicep looks at the top of the exercise, at the bottom of the exercise. Same thing for tricep pull downs. When I'm locked out, I want to look in the mirror and see the tricep fully extended, right? Little tweaks like that can already make such big advancements to your physique without even knowing it, you know? So you have to be very, very mindful of how you train. You can't just, eat a lot and go in and try and lift as heavy as possible. I never try to lift as heavy as possible. I try to lift heavier, but there's a difference between increasing in weight and just trying to do as much weight as possible. You're gonna get a lot better gains from actually doing reps, from actually slowing it down, making it harder for yourself, than if you were to just, oh, I can do this heavy weight, whatever, but then you wonder why, oh, like why does my chest hurt, or like why isn't my chest as developed? Like I don't do crazy heavy weight, and on top of that, I'm also not a super huge guy in terms of my weight. Like right now I'm around 160 something. So like I'm not in the gym repping 315 on incline and that's why my chest is gigantic. It's because I actually lowered the weight, slowed down the process, controlled the movements, and I'm able to properly grow the muscle because I'm actually using everything, right? I'm not just mindlessly doing it, right? So that's kind of what I want the takeaway of this video to be. I want you to start lifting like with more consciousness, like it's more than just getting in there and doing it and then just getting a pump and leaving. Like you need to study like how does it feel, how's it supposed to feel, what feels good, what feels bad, right? Like would you really continue to do an exercise if every time you did it it felt uncomfortable or it hurt? Of course not, right? So in a similar sense, like okay, just because you can do the exercise doesn't mean that's going to be the exercise for you. And like I advocate for this because I talk a lot about how I think everyone should do different exercises from time to time, because like I used to do like a lot of like, let's say like dumbbell bicep curls, right? And I thought like, oh, that's the secret, like, to growing my peak or whatever. And I'm not hating on dumbbell bicep curls, they're great exercise. But then I started switching to more cable work and I started to notice that my bicep was getting stronger, that it was growing in a different way. Sorry, gotta swipe out this notification. But, try different exercises, spend time, do full range of motion, right? Like don't cut stuff short, don't do anything like that, don't rush the workout. Take your time and watch how dramatically your gains will change. But if you guys enjoyed watching this video, share it, like it, leave a comment, let me know. I want to start doing more training videos as well, but this gym that I go to gets pretty packed in the summer. A lot of people, they're they're getting back in the gym. That's great for them. But it does mean that it's harder for me to record just because, a lot of people don't want to be recorded and I can't, angle the camera to just specifically focus on me. And I don't want to be an inconvenience. I don't want to make people uncomfortable. Like I try to record when it's empty, but if it isn't, then it's harder for me to post. But if you guys really do want to see more workout videos, just let me know, because I can make it work. I can figure it out, you know. It's not like I can't record when there's people in the gym. It just makes it a lot harder, but not impossible. So if you guys want to see those types of video instead, just let me know as well. All right. See y'all.